Hi, this is Tay with Thinking with Tay. And today we have a very special guest, Sensei Ronnie Williams. How are you, Ronnie?
Hey, I'm amazing, just like you. I'm glad to be. Yes,
Thank you, thank you, thank you for being with us today. I'm really excited about this interview to understand a little bit better about martial arts. That's going to be our topic for today for our guests, our listeners. We're going to cover understanding martial arts and the benefits thereof. I think this is really critical. I have heard a lot about the benefits of martial arts. Actually, my daughter, who's 11 now, she was first introduced to martial arts, particularly the style of or teachings of Taekwondo, actually about, well, it was right before COVID. And unfortunately, the class got shut down and, the school went into like virtual classes, etc. But because it was her first time in introduction, we wanted to have more of in-person classes. Then she got busy and just decided to do some other things, but we're actually getting ready to start her back this next school year. So we're excited about it. So I am really looking forward to learning more about this from you today. So I'm
man,
excited.
it's my pleasure. I'm looking forward
Okay.
to it all. Yeah,
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to introduce to some and reintroduce to others because Sensei Ronnie Williams is from Hickory, my hometown as well. So I've known him and known of him for a very, very long time. And he's done some great work. One, he's a veteran from the U.S. Army. And, we owe a debt of gratitude to our soldiers. And we're just so grateful. And I'm just honored to have you here today. So we are going to get started. So again, I am going to introduce to some and reintroduce to others so that you guys can get a better understanding of who Sensei Ronnie Williams is. So Sensei Ronnie Williams began martial arts at the early age of 11 and achieved the rank of black belt in Shotokan Karate in 1984. That's a long time. In 1990, he also achieved the status of drill sergeant in the U.S. Army. Sensei Ronnie Williams mastered the skill of hand-to-hand and ground fighting techniques, currently referred to as combative techniques. He has taught hand-to-hand fighting as well as intense and complex weapon system and bayonet training for over 10 years to over 10,000 soldiers. Wow. Wow. Sensei Ronnie Williams served over 26 years in the U.S. Army, receiving numerous military awards and experiencing multiple deployments. He retired in 2012 at the rank of First Seargeant E-8 in the U.S. Army Reserve. In addition to his demanding schedule and activities in the U.S. Army, in 1990, Sensei Ronnie Williams founded Showstoppers Martial Arts, where he presently serves as the primary instructor in the discipline of Shotokan Karate. He is currently ranked as a 7th degree black belt in Shotokan Karate with the title of Shihan, and also 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo. You don't want to mess with him. I'll tell you that right now, okay? Don't want to mess with him,
oh,
okay? He is also internationally certified in Shotokan and Aikido. Now, you correct me if I'm wrong with these pronunciations. I won't be
yeah.
offended. One thing that I really, really enjoyed about hearing about a little bit about you in the precursor and understanding from your bio is that you quote yourself. You said, "What good is it for a man to have all the knowledge and not pass it on to the next generation? Would it make him wise or foolish?" Wow. And you said you consider it foolish for a man to be consumed by his accomplishments and hoard his knowledge instead of letting his knowledge and experience be devoured by the starving minds of the younger generation. That is one, selfless, commendable, honorable, and amazing. And amongst other superlatives that I can use to describe you. So, because you're right, a lot of people will use knowledge just to have it. But the fact that you believe that in sharing and teaching is basically the ultimate goal, and the, I guess, the best benefit that you can give in teaching young generation, it is phenomenal. So I tell you, I mean, I'm just, again, I am excited to have you here today. I know I'm going to learn a lot. I mean, from a skilled, trained veteran, as well as in, in martial arts. I'm just so excited again. So without further ado, let's get started. So from your
Okay.
perspective and all of your experience, what do you consider martial arts to be?
For me, I get that question kind of asked many times, but kind of in a different way.
Okay.
For me, I consider martial arts a way of life. Way of life is
Mm.
discipline, control yourself and your actions and your emotions, uh, having the fortitude to finish what you start, even when it gets rough, and
Yes.
having the for something to do it even when you don't feel like doing it. And
Mm.
that's why I say it's a way of life. It's not about the kicking and punching. And yes, it serves as a self-defense or protection of oneself and one's family, but you gain that through the confidence of training and repetition. And then you find out when you do become confident and are pretty self-sufficient in the art, and you think you probably do okay against the average person, you realize that it's not about the kicking and punching. It's about de-escalating and trying to find a better way to motivate someone, and also de-escalating your temper when it comes to, like, if you had an encounter, opposed to thinking, because if you know with great great art or learning and teaching that you have the ability to do something comes great responsibility with that. So
For
it's very
sure.
important, that you channel that. I know you guys, being in law, you see so much, and I
Yes.
could have been saying that some of the same people were involved, but I thank God, we was talking earlier, as you were saying about just the thing of not hoarding the skills, but it comes back to also that's a part of paying it forward to someone who took the time in and thought enough of me. And because I know I was a little knucklehead, that martial arts really, I can almost say, kind of saved my life in a lot of instances and ways, and not more physically, but mentally, and being able to apply those teachings that I learned to
Wow.
de-escalate instead of escalate. So yeah,
Right.
that's what
Yes. Yes. And I mean, and thank you for that. Thank you for giving that foundational, excuse me, information. As you said, it being used for self-defense and discipline. And my understanding, of martial arts also, I know the military use it for tactics, etc., in terms of training. And the one thing I realized with respect to martial arts is, as you said, you focused on, you mentioned about the discipline. And I know a lot of people, I mean, I used to watch the karate movies, Bruce Lee, etc., and you just see the fighting, but like you said, it's more than that. It's basically a way of life, and you said you felt like it saved your life. And so at an early young age of 11, you how did you get introduced to it?
Well, that kind of goes slingshot off what you just said. At an early age, we saw Bruce Lee movies, and so I
Okay.
actually started martial arts a little earlier than that.
Okay.
Originally, I was living in Greensboro, and we moved to Hickory, North Carolina, when I was younger, in like very second grade. And my dad used to always take us to the karate movies, and back then,
Mm-hmm.
and see Bruce Lee, and I'm seeing all these different Jim Kelly and all these guys.
Yes.
And like most kids, we want to do karate, because initially when we start in it, so when I say I started at 11, I actually started a regimental professional teaching at that time that was structured, and
Okay.
they was hold the line, and it wasn't because I had to pay, because I had someone that cared enough for me, that thought a lot of me, that brought me with them and to the classes, and then I stayed
Okay.
disciplined, and it was the classes we call the old school training. You got knocked upside the head or something like that. You understand. I wasn't paying for it. I was just going because I wanted to go. And if you came back, then you got a little more. And you came back, you got a little more. And then, like I tell a lot of my students out there now, I tell them, I said, a lot of things changed that, I probably couldn't teach like that from a commercial standing. I said,
Yes.
but, I do really, teach that way with my son, who's actually out there teaching now, because I think it's very
Amazing.
important when it comes to that discipline and that degree of being able to have pressure on you and then be able to perform and remain focused while you may think you're under duress, and then you have to train your body to get to that point that, you actually feel comfortable because you have that never quit attitude despite anything.
Yeah, that never quit attitude. I tell you,
Yeah.
that's awesome, because when you think about, when especially there are situations in life, I have, we've all encountered things, and people may try to challenge you or get into your mental space and, try to get a rouse out of you. And what I understand martial arts to be is to, have that discipline and to de-escalate. So it's really having those tactics and understanding with respect to having a skill set to really actually be strong mentally, as opposed
Yeah.
to just jumping off and saying, yeah, you better not mess with me. I mean, I know I joked earlier, they really don't want to mess with you, but at the same time, it's more about the discipline and the control. I would imagine the self-control that these type teachings will render.
And you are so correct, because a lot of times, even if the situation is being able to dissect within a small window the situation and be able to apply the techniques, and the techniques may be, okay, I'm not going to be able to de-escalate this situation right now. So in order to involve in a situation that I can't de-escalate it, then, it's hard to fuss with someone that's not there with you. So you learn how to remove yourself from situations, and then it's not about, are you scared? And then you have that confidence in yourself, so you know your capability. But just like I tell all my students like this, I said, with great knowledge comes great responsibilities. And I said, you've probably seen it in many times in the courtroom, and dealing with situations that if you just sometimes remove yourself from situation, it's not about your ego, because your ego can cost you your pocket or your freedom in some cases.
And your life.
It's life. And I said, we don't know, and that's why I tell the kids, I said, don't let this get you in a situation just because you know what you're capable of doing, that you want to show people. I said, it's funny that we're talking about that, because I tell a lot of people, I've been in different phases and different areas in my life through different chapters. A lot of people known for over 20 years that know me from this area, but they didn't know me from that area. Then when they are, they're like, man, where did this guy come from? Man, I ain't never knew this. Boy, they like, hey. And I said, well, people who know me, being from my hometown, they're like, well, this guy been doing this way before he went in service. I say, if people feel comfortable that they think they know you because they've known you over 20 years, but I'm 57 something.
That's right.
So you're talking about almost 57 years old and been doing this since 11 years in a structured environment.
Yeah.
It's a lot that comes with it. And then, I was able to continue it in the military with folks that we had the same in common denominator. We had that in common. And also got to train on folks. So yeah, it's don't want to get too far off the subject, but yeah, it
No,
just gets you to.
we're having a conversation. We're having a conversation. This is informal discussion. I mean, our listeners are learning a lot from you, and you have a wealth of knowledge. So no, you're not too far off the subject. We're gonna roll. This is unofficial, informal, relaxed conversation. So thank you so much for all of your knowledge and sharing. Absolutely. So let's get into the different styles of martial arts. Some, as I mentioned earlier, I'm familiar with Taekwondo just from my daughter's introduction to it. But Shotokan Karate, Aikido, Jiu-Jitsu, among other styles and disciplines. Um, Given your skill level as a 7th degree black belt in Shotokan Karate and then a 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo, as well as your international certification in the Shotokan Karate and Aikido, what do you find to be the distinct differences between all of these? And I know that's just some I've named, but I know there's a lot of different styles and disciplines of martial arts. What do you find to be the distinct differences between just a few for our listeners to understand?
Well, I guess when I say the distinct difference, it will probably be more so with the practitioner. I tell everyone, I always get that question asked from new students, what's the best martial art? And I say the one that you like the most. And so as far as differences, it's just like you practicing law. You got corporate law, you got
Yes.
personal injury law, you have them. So
Criminal
it's
law.
whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, so many different. So it's the one that you really, it's more about the person. But if you're talking about, I guess the things that a lot of things that each art offers, like you may hear Taekwondo. Taekwondo, it talks about one of the words, though, meaning as a way, but a hand and feet way. So you talk, but they do more of a kicking on the sports end of the Taekwondo. And then when you talk about Shotokan is a Japanese style, Taekwondo is a Korean martial art. Shotokan is a Japanese martial art. And most Japanese martial arts or Okinawa martial arts are considered a hard style, not hard because it's hard to comprehend or learn, but they believe in like each punch or each kick can be a finishing blow because you may not have one opportunity a long time. So it's very straightforward, powerful technique when you're doing the Shotokan. It has a lot of grappling parts in it, a lot of pressure point parts and strikes and so on as you continue to elevate. And, those are the type of things where you develop a good relationship with a good school instructor that you graduate to that level of learning, almost going to school to be a doctor. You may go to high school and the class, and then you go into college, and you still got to go back to the hospital and do your residency, and then you got to come back and all of this stuff. And that's basically how the martial art is when it comes to differences. And then like the Aikido, it's a way of harmony. It talks about harmony, one's power, using one's power to redirect and channel in other directions. The Jiu-Jitsu, it has so many different dynamic parts to it, from weaponry to a different skill sets, and you see it on TV now, like Ninja Warrior and all this, and that's a lot of the ninja. That's where you get that ninjutsu art from.
Wow. Wow. That's so impressive. I mean, I knew there were distinct differences. Certainly am learning a lot more about what those are, and you're making it very plain in layman's terms, those of us unskilled in the martial arts. So thank you for that. So let me ask you, what do you consider to be, we talked about discipline, we talked about self-defense, we talked about military use, but what do you consider to be, I'll say, the primary benefits of martial arts? I know that there are some people that use it for physical education and exercise, and of course, we talked about the mental strength and the de-escalation, those things. But what do you consider the primary benefits, just from all of your years of experience, you personally and in general, what you believe martial arts to be?
Um, the benefits are, I can almost say they're endless. Physical, because the older you get, our body heals itself. It stays healthier by movement, continue to move, the blood flow. So for health benefits, even if you got arthritis, I got students in here that's over 70 years old, and the first thing they say, knee replacement, so on and so forth, to say, well, I don't have my knees, I can't bend, I can't do this. I said, so if you can't bend, what do you usually do? Just with one knee ain't hurt, you compromise, right? You compromise some spots, and I say you do what you can do, but doing something is better than doing nothing. My dad used to say, when I tell my son this, he always say 50% of something better than 100% of nothing.
Ain't that's right? Ain't that right? 50%. I love that. 50% of something is better than nothing. Wow, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. So I tell them, doing something it's always a benefit there. Then not just benefit. We always talk about, we got so many kids out here nowadays on all these different attention deficit drugs and so on and so forth. And I remember me going back and you going back. We in school, we used to get that 4-hour recess. We got to run, but a lot of these kids, they're not getting those different things. And then first thing they're talking about is drugging them. I got a lot of kids that have done well, including my own, that someone wanted to put on this drug, but I refused to do it because I knew
that's right.
They just got a energy. And, this is a way to burn the energy instead of being, especially talking about focus. They're learning to do something because they have to learn all these different forms of what we call kata, and they have to remember. So and I say, so they're proving that they are focused. They're able to remember these things, and that they go through the belt levels and elevate, so on and so forth. So you're talking about, when you're talking about the benefits, and for young and old, I don't care, male or female, you got your self-defense benefits, you have your confidence. When I do self-defense class for battered women, and I do this free. When I'm doing these classes, like I tell most the women, it's just like, most time when you're in situations like that where you're being battered, it's because, one, you're afraid, two, you don't have confidence, third, and that's not the case. But when you empower yourself physically, mentally, and then your spirit is on the same thing, you don't have to beat up someone, but you have enough empowerment that's in confidence of yourself, that you done came one with yourself, and your spirit is high, and you know that you deserve more, and you won't settle for it.
That's right.
So those are benefits, and martial arts is a tool to help achieve a lot of those things. Like I said, it can go from anywhere from confidence to I tell my class, my son, and he's grown up in it. He don't know anything about it. He's on the floor. All my kids have done it in some shape or form. The only one that has achieved the black belt level. But I tell the story because it's been a journey. It's just like him out there. He's out there teaching now.
Yes, I hear him. I hear him in the background.
Yeah. So he just recently graduated from college, and he's back doing it. And he's teaching, but he will remember in school, he shared the story, because a lot of people, they had to present in front of the class, and they had to record themselves. And a lot of the students say, man, how do you not get nervous? How do you not do it? He's like, this is what I've done all my life. He's been put out there from a young age.
Yeah, and he's used to it.
Being able to talk in front of a crowd and not worry about messing up your words or doing this. I say, just be yourself. We're all human.
Absolutely.
But it's not about messing up. It's about being able to get up and continue and keep going. And you're going to get better. And so that's like the benefits of martial arts is repetition. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it.
Excellent. 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 Yes, I love that. I love that. You're right. And one thing that you said, and I have a criminal justice background as well. And prior to going to law school, I worked in an environment or for an organization called the Department of Juvenile Justice. And in that, you're right. You talk about the kids who were labeled ADHD, ADD, some other labels, new labels that they've come up with now. And you talk about maybe just giving them opportunities. And when you think about, and as I'm reflecting, I think about how martial arts probably would have been very beneficial for some of these children, and probably would have been something that could have been a community based alternative for some of those, children, as opposed to sending them through the court system. Yes, some of them may have need psychological evaluations because they've been exposed to some things that some of us haven't been, right? They may have been born on drugs or something like that. But as you just pointed out, the benefits of what martial arts can provide, as you said, meaning your son, they wanted to try to label, and you said, no, we're going to go a different route. We're going to go a different way. Now he's a college graduate. He teaches, he's reached black belt status. But just you being that type of father to advocate for your child. And it's so important that we do that because, schools and doctors and all of these labels, not saying that they don't mean well by our children, but I think it's important to have parents like yourself to advocate for your children. And, so that, and especially, from an early age and being exposed to martial arts, what that provided for you. So you said, you know what? No, we're going to go a different route. I insist that we go a different route. We're not going to medicate my son, and I'm going to, we'll take him through this training that I know to be effective. So I mean that is awesome. It's phenomenal, and I'm so happy that he's reached and attained the levels that he has. I saw even recently on your social media platform that you guys just won gold. You took home the gold in the body armor state games in karate. And, and since we're talking about that in your class, tell me a little bit about that. Just, because I mean, that's a phenomenal feat. Gold? You take home gold in the state games? What does that really mean?
Well, that means, like the Olympics, you're the champion of
Yes.
State of Carolina. So, we have competed. We've won the state games numerous of times. So that's awesome. I don't want to negate or play down. I'm proud of my students so much for that. They do an awesome job. As we were talking
Yes.
about earlier about the comment, I could have I had a lot of wars and stuff like that, but the wars don't really mean anything because, number one, is because how it looks me to have all these wars and my students don't have. So I say, so that's the team. When they're out there and they're competing and they're getting these awards, and I get to look in their faces and watch them achieve these different levels that they never thought achieve. And especially I have a couple of students that were their first time competing that actually achieved gold. And you see that face, and that's like, so, that gives them a taste of something really positive. And, being in the field, it's like both things. One thing we always hear, attention. Sometimes it doesn't matter for kids that's coming up because some attention that's all they're asking for, whether they lashing out in school because they want some attention. And you want them to have the positive and the negative, because we see as the roads go down what that negative attention does. And there we go. And there they go in prison for 20 years just because they wasn't able to funnel into a positive area. That's, for me, that's my reward. That's what it means to watch somebody grow and achieve positive results, and from their hard work that they put in. Because it could have been easy. It could have been there in the street or something and got in the fight, and the next thing you know, someone got hurt. We hear it too many times on the news. So for me, that's a trophy that means more than all these trophies I got in my office or outside. Because that stuff's gonna, it's gonna pass away. It's gonna get dust. It takes more time to clean all that stuff off.
I know.
But I know I know how much it meant when I was young to get that trophy. Right. Then when you get, it's like a new car. Man, you get that new car, people get in there, hey, dust your feet off. I don't want you to mess up the car. Go see the same people out there, hear something. Oh, get on in here, let's go.
Yeah.
The newness, but it was the accomplishment that never wears off, because that gives
That's
you that
right.
drive, and that's to you inside. So, and we call it, the next time something else come up, that's when that fortitude comes out and you can excel again.
Yes.
Because it's positive as opposed to negative. So that's what it means to me, and that's what to watch everyone else start to achieve around you. And that's what it truly means, whether it's just my school or another school that's out here, that the martial arts, because that's the way it was really meant to be taught, is the uplift in every community, because it's been taught all around the world now.
Yeah, sure.
And some situations are positive, some negative, because a lot of people have gotten in it, and a lot of it's too much that I see, that I promise. When I did open up a commercial setting, I told them I would not compromise the integrity of the art and the way it was taught to me. I had to be creative. A lot of parents are not ready for my teaching, and like I tell a lot of the parents here that come in, potential students, and I'm straight with them, and I said, I don't do contracts, and I don't do that, not because, I don't want the money or feel it. I said, because I don't want you to feel like you're obligated to be somewhere you do not want to be. And I understand that this is for everyone, because I'm going to hold your child to a different standard.
Yes.
And that's the part where, I tell them all the time, I said, I'm going to love the hell out of them.
Yeah.
And I mean it like, I say, I'm going to love the hell out of them. I mean, if they cutting up, and they're going to be straightened up. And not to the point where I don't trash them, but it's the discipline that they
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to love them enough to discipline them. I'm going to love them enough to correct them. I'm going to love them enough to tell them when they're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And then, sometimes that's, like I tell everyone, that's the part, that's the transformation. And they don't understand it, because it's just like when you go in the service, they take all that stuff you had in the street, and they total control. It's like wiping all that out and get you in a understanding that it's bigger than you. It's about this whole team. It's not you. And some people don't understand that, because they, you see it in this world. They're so consumed. We think we're helping our kids by giving them things, but you got to help them to understand responsibility with giving them these things. And I expect for you to uphold that. And if you're not, as I say, mature enough to do it, then we don't need this right now. And you got to be strong enough as a parent, as a teacher, to take those things back and let them know. I know it's hard, because I've been one of my kids to have everything, but I can't give them everything, because they won't know what it is to earn it. And that's what the martial arts.
Oh my goodness. You are dropping some nuggets. Two things come to mind. So one, as you said, now my daughter, she's an only child, and yes, it's so easy to just give and provide. But one thing, I love the fact that she's not one that asks for a lot of things. So when we do give, she knows she's earned it. She deserves it. She's done well in school. She's very respectful. But you're right. If we continue to give, and even if there is something, out there that she might want, right, that she just might ask for, I might say, well, it's not a priority purchase. It's not something that we need to do or have right now. Is it a necessity, or is it just a want? But she's not one that asks for a lot of things. So I don't have to say that a lot, but I say, is it a priority purchase? And I think that is so true. You are teaching your children, you're saying, yeah, we want to get them things, even things that we didn't have when we were growing up. We may be in a better financial position, but the one thing about it is, what are we teaching them long term? Because when they leave the nest, when they leave our home, they need to have some skill set. They need to know how to navigate this world. They need to know that money don't grow on trees, and that's so I just love those teachings. I mean, your students are getting a lot from you, a lot of life skill, not just technical training, but just a lot of life skills. And the other point you raised was with respect to, like, with the Department of Juvenile Justice and working with those kids. I saw a lot of some of the children even saying, well, my father didn't do this and my mom didn't do that. Well, we can't use those things as excuses. We all, have experiences in our lives that, kind of took us down a path. Maybe a parent was absent, and you thought that you should have better. And I know you probably see all walks of life, coming through there, and their situations and experience is so diverse and varied, so I know you're having to, you know, break them up, not really break them down. That's not the word I want to use, but as you mentioned earlier about even going into the military, where they want you to wipe the slate clean. And it's very similar to a story that when I was in law school, my contracts professor, first class, first day, he told us, he said, forget everything you know. I don't care if you're a PhD. I don't care if you're a medical doctor. I don't care if you've been teaching law for 20 years. He said, forget what you know. Your brain is mush. I was like,
Yep.
what?
Empty your class.
Yes, yes. So he said that, so almost to say, I'm going to now retrain your mind from what you think you know, because it's going to help you really understand the concept of law and learn it without all of these preconceived notions and ideas. So I love that. These our disciplines, our career paths are kind of similar. It seemed like it's distinctly different, but it really isn't actually.
And universally connects is always going to connect somewhere somehow, and that's in everything we do. And as you talk about like that discipline and as far as helping the kids, like I get a lot of kids, I watch the parents, and I tell them, and I tell my son this, I say, anytime when you go somewhere, even though you may be trying to get the job, or,
Yes.
in one case, you may be the consumer, and it's the person who's selling, so you thinking they want to benefit. I said, but what I tell the parents, I say, when you first come in and I meet you and I talk to you, I say, you're interviewing me, but I said, at the same time, I'm interviewing you, because right. I get to see the kids. And so then, like, I tell them straightforward, I'm very transparent. I tell them I don't run a daycare. I don't mean it derogatory or conceited. I mean it just being straight. And I tell them, I said, but like I told them before, I'm going to love your child, and I'm going to love them, and I'm going to love them with discipline, but we're going to have a good time, but that's where they're going to learn to respect. When they come in, I said, I watch them, especially the younger kids. I get like that 5-year-old, 6-year-old. And so, they're that babies. I know, I get it. They love them. Especially like some parents are first-time parents, and especially the kids 5 years old. So they're young parents. And so that's the village. We're the village now. So I'm like the grandparent. And so I have to help them to understand, I know it's your first time and you're not going to be perfect, but as long as you're dedicated, you're going to get this right. Because nobody got it right. So when they come in, the kids, they can take a phone and get to their favorite game and do this. And I watch them come through the door. They holding their child, because they're their baby. They take them down. And then the kid take the shoes off to get on the floor. And they leave them right there. And the parents start picking the shoes up. And I stop them right at the door. I say, oh,
that's right.
I say it loud. I said, Mom, Dad, leave that alone. I said, little bit, go over there and get your shoes.
Get your shoes.
You can put them in the back in the locker, or you can put them
on
neatly, just like you will wear them. It's just like military, and they get in that habit. And I said,
I love that.
Get in a habit and a routine of doing what they need to do.
That's right.
It don't have to be yelling, and because as a kid, this is one thing I always remember that I don't see as much. Like I was telling my son, I did his brakes. And I would tell him, I'm changing the brakes on the car. And I said, you need to learn this. And
that's right.
I said, you're older now. I said, but when I was coming up, I wanted to do that, whether I was with my grandfather, whether if I was with my dad, even though my parents were separated. But when I was with him, he showed me these things. And I said, I was eager to learn. And I said, we got
to reaffirm those type of teachings, whether it be just come in and let me show you how to do this. Let me show you. And that's male and female. We miss
Absolutely.
the kids. I think that's personally from my platform, what I see, the kids are missing that. I'm just an extension of your family, you
That's
know,
right.
and we have to be on the same team. When you come to martial arts, the same thing we was asking about, what is it and what's the benefits of it? In order to see those benefits in anything you do, you have to follow. You gotta follow the regiment that's set up for it. You gotta follow the directions. If you don't follow the directions, like, you know, I used to be a person who want to put something together, a toy together. I was looking at the box and I'm doing this. Then I realized, man, I left 2 screws away. This is why this won't work now.
But you gotta follow every step.
Yeah. I say you can't skip the steps, and that's the problem a lot of times. We want to skip steps. We all want to get things. We want those results
fast,
but
microwave results.
Yeah. I tell the kids, I say, you don't know the sacrifices that the LeBron James them have made to be where they are. I say, the only thing you see is their results. This is the results. But where were you when he was 10, 11 years old, not going to the prom, not going to the dance, not doing this when he had to work out, and they were doing that? You know, those are the things people don't see. Where were they at when you was in law school studying at 12 midnight, trying to get this
going to the parties, wasn't going to hang out.
It's New Year's, but you there, hey, New Year's, ain't you gonna come out? Ain't you coming? Girl, I gotta tell you, I gotta have this paper done by this, and this.
That's right.
That's discipline.
It is discipline. You're right.
Now look at the results now.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you so much. Well, we definitely understand that. And you're right. There were many times that I couldn't go to the party or hang out. And, you know, because I was on the accelerated program. So I had 17, you know, hours, and I basically went to class Monday through Sunday or Sunday through Monday, however you want to say it. Every day I was in class, 3-hour classes too. And so, no, it was no fun and games. It was study, it was disciplined, it was get the work done, because we had one test out of 14 weeks. And if you flunked that test, you flunked the class. So it was no fun and games. It was discipline. It's not like college where they give you so many times to pass, you know, to do well in the class. No, they gave us one test. You studied every day, you read your cases, and you did everything you needed to do to prepare for one test at the end of the semester. And if you did not pass that test, you did not pass the class.
And you didn't get a refund.
Oh no, they were taking your money every semester. They took your money every semester. It's on you to get this. But they were definitely going to, they set that tuition up, and that invoice needed to be paid.
Exactly. See, man, that's why I tell the kids, when you start spending your money, when their parents come in here, I say, you know, that's a commitment. That's something you got to honor. You honor, they're going to do it for you. And I tell the parents, they got to say it in front of the parents, hey, I said, what's your goals? We're going to set goals. What do you plan to achieve in the class? Yes. Okay. What about when it's not going to always be easy? I'm not going to tell you that, but it's going to be worth it.
That's right.
I always say that. It's not going to be easy, but it will be worth it.
That's right. It will be worth it. And you're going to learn lifelong lessons for the rest of your life. You will remember this. You're going to incorporate it. You're going to use it. You're going to pass it down to your children. You know, so no, I totally get what you understand and can appreciate it. So one thing I wanted to understand a little bit better. So in 1984, you achieved a black belt in Shotokan Karate. Can you share with us like the stages, the belts? You know, I know black belt is sort of, I guess, the ultimate, but then you get degrees in the black belt after that. Correct me if I'm wrong. So in order to achieve black belt status in the Shotokan Karate, what is that process? Like, what are the belts, the colors? I see yellow, I see white, I see green, and all of that.
You know, that different schools and different associations have different criteria and standards, just like
Okay.
colleges, so on and so forth. In the black belt level, we call anything under, in Shotokan, anything under black belt is called a ku, and that's a ku level. And
Okay.
think of it this way: when you come in class, the white belt is 10th ku, and it goes from 10 all the way down to 1. So
Okay.
each belt, so it's 10 belts all the way down to 1. And some schools may have 8 or 9, but they may have 2 levels under one ku level, two ku levels on one belt color. All right, because they combine the training. But from white belt, it's a 10th ku, and it comes down to the brown belt, which is in our system is brown belt. That's first ku. So and first ku after brown belt, then the numbers start going up. You go to Shodan, and that's a first degree black belt, and Nidan, and that's Japanese terminology, but first degree, second degree. And in our system, we don't go no higher than 10th degree black belt. The 10th degree black belt, think about black belt is like, and I tell the students, a lot of people assume that they get a black belt, then they're a sensei. That title don't come with that. That title comes with experience and teaching, and certain organization you have to go through classes, just like think of you finishing high school. That's you getting to the black belt, and then you're going to college. So when you finish college, say you're going to become a teacher, so you have to be a graduate. So that would be your black belt Shodan, and your second degree, third degree, fourth degree teaching. That would be like you're a teacher now. Then when you go into your master's program, you may hear a lot of, in Taekwondo, you hear a lot of the pronunciation and the instructors as master or grandmaster. I don't particular, that's me personally, I don't particularly like those words. You know, and then different people have different religious beliefs and so on, and I respect that. Like I always said, they may not want to call you that. So I could say, with me, as long as it's a respect with my name, Mr. Williams. Like I have adults on my floor, so as they're on the floor, they're adults and they're with their kids. But I don't let my kids call them by their first name. You call them if you call them by their first name, you put a Mr. or Mrs. in front of it.
That's correct.
So it separates that division. You are not at the same level as this adult. You're a kid, and that's how you're going to address them. And that's the same way I tell a student, you know, with my son, they say sensei. With me, they say Shihan, or they say sensei. Or if they have some type of belief that, you know, they don't believe, I'm always engaging in. I said, well, you can call me Mr. Williams. I got some African family who I love, and she can't remember. The mom can't remember. But she always say, Coach. I say, I'm fine with that. She say, Coach Williams.
You're not caught up in it. Right.
And I'm not caught up in the titles, because I like, you know, I always say this saying too, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Wow. I love it. Yeah. I love that. That's right.
And they, you know, they don't care about all of that until they get to know me and know that I care about it. Them titles don't mean, I say that all the time. I say, no one cares. You hear people, hey, I got this and this and this and this and this and all that. That's fine. But, well, I'm happy for you. But until you know that you care about me.
That's right.
That's what means a lot to me, this person. Say, they don't care about what I do outside of here. They want to know what I'm doing. Do I care about their child? Or so on and so forth. And I don't want them to get distracted by these different things. It's a belt in I'm gonna say this really quick. It's a belt.
Oh, you're fine.
When you get to the Shihan level, it was presented to me with that title of Shihan. And anyway, the belt is a red and white belt.
Okay.
I wore it because it was a great achievement at the time. But I was working in class, and it just kept bringing it was directing too much attention to the belt opposed to the teaching. So I put one, and you know, not that I didn't recognize the award, but it was distracting to my students because they were worried about the belt than the teaching. I just wear my black belt all the time. So it's no big deal as far as that, and I don't take nothing for. I don't negate or neglect what a person has done to achieve that.
That's
but
right.
I don't want it to be counterproductive in my class when it comes to
Right.
that.
Right.
So,
I think that's great. And you raised a very good point, right? With all the distractions and you know what you've accomplished, what you achieved. When you go, when you come to class, you're instructing, you're teaching, you're growing, you're developing these students. You don't want them to get distracted by some of the things that you've accomplished. Now, granted, it's almost like having a shiny trophy. They look at you, with admiration. You're like the gold, it's almost like they say, whenever a mentor and mentee relationship, they talk about how and a lot of mentors, really good mentors, it sounds like that's what you are, to a lot of students, but there are a lot of mentors would say, well, I didn't do my job if my mentee don't surpass me or don't at least reach my level. So it sounds like what you're doing is, wow, yes, I've accomplished these and I have all these titles and accomplishments and I've reached these different levels. It's not really about that. I'm here to teach you. I'm here to educate you. I'm here to train you. I'm here to develop your mind. And that's really what it's all about.
it's about, because we'd be stagnated if you just, I had talked with friends before in the martial arts industry. We talk about so many, a lot of the older guys and older have went away because they have harnessed and they have died lonely because they just consumed with their accomplishments, their knowledge. And I said, this body's gonna get older, we're gonna do this, and when it's all said and done, we live on through our legacy and through teachings, and it's like great people. As y'all was, you were talking to Attorney Mitchell, and you were talking about different people in our community. Whether it was a dad, and they continue the business, and in order for that to happen, they have to instill in their kids to do other things, not just like we're doing somebody accounting. I remember it because I said it was so enlightening to me. She was in accounting, then she realized when we was in school, I realized this was law. Then I remember you saying that she was asking you that question. You said, I learned at an age when I was looking at Matlock or something, it was law. And I said, so you don't know what's going to stem that. But whenever you get that and that series, whether it birthed that seed in your mind, you had to have some nourishment, and whether it was your parents that say, and then you were doing well in school, you can do this, girl. Not, a lot of times we get consumed with these folks who, they didn't achieve that, and to their fault, but somewhat not to their fault due to the environment that they came up to. At the same time, a lot of other entities, but ultimately, it's that person, that teacher, that coach, and then you believe, and that's what I love looking in the eyes, and I say, you can do this.
That's right.
Remember that's that aha moment, and we call that. That's a defining moment of trajectory of which way my life is going to go. And it could be one of the two. So it could be some situation that, oh man, I better not do this. But if you got a person that helped grooming you and pushing you in that direction, it means so much more. And then you say, wow, this is what we should do as teachers. We don't want them not to tell you, hey, this. Well, I got all this. I practiced law. I was the first woman to do this in law. Okay, that's fine and dandy. But what about the other ones that come before?
How have you paid it forward? What have you done? And you bringing up some nuggets. Before even going to law school, after I graduated undergrad, I started this female mentoring program. We start out with I founded this female mentoring program called Alpha Xi Phi. I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And so through our local chapter in Hickory, North Carolina, Xi Phi Omega, I kind of partnered with them after I started the organization, and I was moving off and then going on to law school. I said, hey, we talked about the local chapter adopting the mentorship program because under, one of the programs that Alpha Kappa Alpha, has. And so they did, and they, continued that program on. But you're right, even at that stage, even before going to law school, I felt a need, I felt compelled to give back. my mom raised me and my brother as a single mom. And I found that I could relate to a lot of, young girls whose father was not present in their lives. My stepfather did come along after my mom married him at the age of 10, and he was very helpful and very instrumental in my life. But I could relate to a lot of the children whose, father was absent. So then getting just to understand a little bit more about your experience in the U.S. Army. So in 1990, you said you basically achieved the status of drill sergeant. I would imagine your early teaching and training in martial arts probably helped to get you there, as with the discipline you learned, the technique, the training. But can you share with me how you reached and attained that goal as drill sergeant at such an early age of your life and experience in the U.S. Army?
And and it's funny you said it, because it was, and it goes back. I remember in basic training, I finished basic training, and I had a drill sergeant. You become, and you watch these guys, and y'all become one. They become your parents.
Yes.
And and I stayed. I was like the one-stop training. That's where I did basic training and my advanced training all at the same place, and I stayed with my same drill sergeant all through my training, basic training and my advanced training. Okay. So I was with them and over 4 months almost straight, just with my drill instructors the whole time, everywhere. And so, and then in the Army, they have phases. And so as you become and you get more mature and you start doing things, you start operating as a team, you get more features. So as we got in advanced training, you get in the class, and then, like you said, they expect for you. What you gotta do the next morning. They release you. That's your time. You study group. You're studying for something. If someone's lacking, you try to help that soldier or those soldiers come up the par. So in the end, so now we're clicking. We just on autopilot. We're getting ready to graduate, and we're cutting up. Because by that time, we get the marking people, marking and imitating. So, we imitate the drill sergeant. I love to have fun. I cut up. So, I'm going to have fun. So I cut up. And they say, oh, this guy, he can imitate this drill sergeant, and I do a major pain too. So the kids like me to do that. But anyway, I was part of the drill sergeant. Then they would at the end they would joke us, and they had us down pat because they knew us, and then they would do it. They did a prediction of us, and then as young soldiers, we want to know. It's like we want that approval from, hey, drill sergeant, what do you think I'm gonna be? Right. Think I'm gonna stay in this and that? And he said, drill sergeant. And he said, I think you're gonna be a drill sergeant one day.
Oh.
He said, yeah. And he didn't know I had done, when they was out of the barrack, I had done put a picture of one of them's hat on my head, and I'm marking one of them, just being stuff as young people
just exactly
in the barrack. And they had a picture. I got it still to this day. And next thing you know, I was excelling in the military as far as rank, because I was athletic. So, I was always been in sports back then in the day, dance and all that too. So, rhythm and understanding and steps, stuff like that, I excelled. And, it helped me to elevate in the ranks. So I went to drill sergeant school as a sergeant, E-5. And by the time I came out of drill sergeant school, shortly after that, my first duty station was Fort McCullough, Alabama, and then Fort Jackson Trail. And I spent years Fort Jackson on the trail, but that in itself, I came out, then I made E6, and it just elevated. And then when I was doing as the drill sergeant, it's a real tedious process because it's very detailed. And it's something I thought I didn't know what I got into. I didn't really want to do it. But like I said, earlier, man, you're going to be tired. You're going to want to quit. But nobody says it's going to be easy. But it's
not going to be easy. That's right. But it's going to be worth it.
And the relationships, and I say this, and a lot of people in the military understand this. in the military, you got your enlisted, and then you have your non-commissioned, your officers enlisted.
Mm-hmm.
So with the enlisted, as drill sergeant, you have that respect from them soldiers.
Yes.
And even you may have the officers, they come in, but you have a relationship that relationship is unpenetratable, and you cannot infiltrate that relationship.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's a bond, because you wake up in the morning with that person, you go to bed that person. That's
right.
all they say. And you see people, man, how do you understand? You see soldiers, tears because they leaving their drill sergeant to go on to the next, because that person has been there. It's like those movies when you're looking at Denzel Washington played Remember the Titans.
Yes,
those
absolutely.
I get that same feeling because I know that feeling, how I felt. From you being the private to you being the drill sergeant, and it works both ways. And I said,
both ways.
And when the officers come in, they want to get that same respect from those soldiers, and the soldiers give them the respect, but just because of their title,
yes,
not because they truly respect them, but
that's
it's because they respect the position, they respect the rank.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes beyond respecting the rank. I respect that person because that person. That's really want to do when you out here and you're talking to people, and you want someone when you're talking to them, you want them to feel, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your child, they want to be loved. We talked about different things.
Absolutely.
You see it in families, because we have issues of questioning, what do we do when ain't nothing you did? It's those things that play tricks in your mind a lot of times. But once you develop that relationship and you know what it's like, then you say, hey, I want to be that person.
That's right. Person
respects me, not because of my position, but because who I am. I make this position doesn't make me.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. It's the respect of person, not the title. And exactly. and the, being exemplary in that position, because it's not just about, oh, look at me, I'm made drill sergeant, I'm this, that, and the third. No, because people watching you, these new privates and the new recruits, or if I'm using the terminology right, that come into the military, you're right, they're coming in there and you're the first person or one of the first leaders that they see in the military. So you have to be exemplary in that position. It's just not about carrying the title. So you're absolutely right. Excellent, excellent. So I want to get a little bit into the Showstoppers, your school, the Showstopper Martial Arts School. So you did a lot in 1990. You were the drill sergeant, then you founded the school. Now, where was the school founded? I know you're in Youngsville, North Carolina now. So that's a long time ago, 1990. Where did you start it, and what inspired you? Why did you feel it important to start the school?
Well, I started it based off of, it wasn't like a per se a school, but I started teaching people that wanted to learn.
Okay.
And when I did it, I was actually doing it at Fort Bragg. And I was starting teaching rec departments, and that's until this is my first commercial setting, and been here over 12 years now.
Okay, congrats. Okay.
The official retirement, but I was teaching through the rec department, Durham's Parks and Recs. I also Fayetteville, North Carolina, Fort Bragg. So, and then to start it off, law, to get when you're hired by a business, whether it's Parks and Recs, then the business, or I had to use like the EIN number, had to be my social, so I had to act up and do it as a primary person on as far as the business is concerned.
That's right.
I started with the name and did it that way. So when I kept doing it, I had students over the years, and like I said, a lot of people never even knew, but I was teaching private students more self-defense because they wanted to learn the combatives. And I got deployed, and I tell the story all the time. My son, my youngest son, he was about 3 or 4, and he watching him. We all always been there, and he jumping around doing things. And I said, hey, he has pretty good form. And And I said, man, he needs really. So I was being deployed. So I looked for another school.
Okay.
So I thought, get him in it. And this is how, the commercial setting came about, not the sweet tea. So I was in a Chinese store getting some food, and I ran into a pamphlet. Saw a pamphlet. It says Lee's Shotokan. And around that area, there wasn't no. I never known. You usually find more of the Okinawan. Lee can be like more of a Korean. You don't find too many Koreans, but it was the school was right beside that school.
Okay.
Anyway, fast forward, I went in there and talked to the guy, and this is crazy how the universe connects. He was telling me, I said, so where did you learn the Shotokan from? He said he learned it from this other person, but he actually studied under Johnny Stinson.
Okay.
And Johnny Stinson's in Hickory. I studied Johnny and Eric, and we used to go to the guy in Morgan right there at the time, named Augustine. Shotokan. Eric Ron, Eric's around there. He done fought one tough man contest. So, and he said their name. I hadn't. I would keep up with Eric over the years because we stayed on the phone, and I was like, I don't remember this guy. And I said, I'm from Hickory. Anybody from Hickory, usually something. And I said, I'm wondering this guy telling me the truth. So I called him. Then I finally got a hold of Johnny. Then he said, yeah, but this was after I had left Hickory. So at the time frame, good, but I just, why did I never know you? Because even when I was on the weekend, I was stationed at Fort Bragg for so long, and I never really ran into him. Yeah, so anyway, it's funny how that connected as far as with the karate, but the Shotokan, the way it came about, I put him in a school, and I was deployed. I left my son. I put him in that guy's school. He did well, but prices when I came back, it's a business, and you know how businesses do. They start off with this, and then they change it. And the price, I said, well, I came back. I said, I don't feel good about paying that price, and I said I can teach him that. My own son.
Exactly.
So
right.
I put him in, and that was more because they're a child. You're talking about 4-year-old. You don't know if he's really going to be
right. Yeah.
And so I put him in another school, and a good friend. Both guys are good friends now. But this is how, and the way I saw the martial arts being taught by them, it was a little different from what I would teach. But the other guy, he taught really good Shotokan, but they were teaching martial art. It just wasn't what I was accustomed to. And I said, so when this is how I think about, before I criticize or say anything, because both guys, they're phenomenal martial artists, and they have their own way. But it's different, and I said it's different from what I teach, but that's the respect I have for it. So I won't criticize it if I don't, well, I was always told, don't criticize something if you don't have a solution.
That's right. That's right.
An option or someone to think. So I say, and that you should develop and come up. And before you present that option or solution, it's just like people go to school. I tell my son, when you're doing something, I said, think of your karate as your thesis. And I say, you got to defend your thesis.
That's right.
That's why you be proficient at your task.
That's right.
They know why you do what you do. And the key thing that I learned in the military is know what right looks like.
That's right. Know what right looks like. Wow.
So
dropping some nuggets.
I started teaching that, and I said, and I started back again in the aspect of the rec center, and it really, it was God. God, he took a hold to it, and I just was disciplined enough to hear that whisper to say, you can do this. And it was ideal because the timing couldn't be perfect. But within time, I was getting ready to retire out of service, and I really love what I do. I ranked then, and I had a company and had places where I was traveling because I had down-trace units I was responsible for from Mississippi to Alabama to Florida.
Okay.
So but you know, that lust and love for what I do wasn't there the same because so much has changed in the military. Still much respect to the military. Just, you know, sometimes your way and way they're changing, just not matching. So, you know,
That's
we the
right.
old
That's
guard
right.
and guard. So I was getting ready to transition, but I knew I missed that.
Okay.
That training and mentoring. And God put that karate where I was able to do it. So I'd never missed a beat since 2012. And actually before then, because I was spending a lot of time. So it was like around 2010 in that transitional state. So when I officially retired in 2012, I was engulfed in this 100% because I'm learning the crucial end of it. So that's how, you know, the martial arts started. And, you know, and I give a big shout out to, that was my inception of that Shotokan with Johnny Stinson, who runs, still teaches karate up there in Hickory, and it's phenomenal.
Okay.
And that's we call him Hanchi now. He's got the title of Hanchi, and Eric Ronhart, who's got the title of Shihan. Those guys took time with me, and then, you know, our instructor recently passed, original, who my introductory to Shotokan, Augustine. That was up
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. And he was the same way, giving it. And he was a second generation. His dad used to sit back in the end of the class, and he was the martial art teaching, his son teaching. And I said,
wow.
So all of my son is paying
That's
forward.
right. You're creating that legacy too with your own sons.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's amazing because the martial arts, you were talking about how military.
Yes.
And it helped me a lot because I learned from another master, they call him Master Kennedy, and he didn't like it. He was Goju Ryu and Shotokan, and that's when I learned so much because he was a straight descendant or a legacy of a descendant out of Okinawa, and he worked in Kentucky. And he was so humble because he said he didn't have nothing. He said he was working and cleaning the horse stables in Kentucky, and an Okinawan guy, that's what he had learned. And he said they did it for years. That's what they did, passing. And he was humble enough, and we used to work out at Fort Bragg and do everything. And he said, man, I watch you. You got this. And he never approached me with a big head, but he showed me so much. And when you get an eye opener, someone show you something, he says, so I see what you do here and do that. He said, yeah, let me, can I show you somewhere else to try this? And you know, I'm young. I'm the young, you know, drill sergeant guy.
Right.
Can't tell me. Now, I didn't have that attitude because
I know what you mean, though. Right.
He was able to approach me and pull me off to the side, not in front of people. And then I said, well, show me. And he's like, well, you do it your way, then I'm gonna show you. And he's like, so I'm gonna show you something. And man, when he did it, I was like, wow.
Wow.
And it's the older guy. And I'm saying, how did this guy move like this? How did he? And he was saying, he said, you got to get maximum impact with minimum effort. And he said, that's the retention of your art and understanding. And he said, that's what you have to learn. In order to learn that, you have to learn to what you said earlier, throw everything out that you learned if I'm going to show. And so I had to pour out everything. Now I kept a lot, but understanding, teaching under him, I had to be molded again. I had to clay it all the way down and remold it. And I thank God for it, now I can share it. And it's good sharing it. And sometimes, like I said, I think I took the handoff that they gave me and I advanced it, and I'm going to hand it off to the next generation.
That's right. You creating and building a legacy. And, you know, the beautiful thing about that is that your legacy will continue. And then when your sons have children, you know, they can teach and keep going. I mean, that is awesome. And honestly, that's probably the best gift that you can give them in life. Honestly, it really is. So, why did you choose to primarily focus in Shotokan Karate, which is what the Showstoppers Martial Arts primarily focus in, right, or teach? Why did you What made you choose Shotokan Karate versus all of the other styles that you're certified and belted in?
Because that's where, and I guess it's my introductory, and then that's when that aha moment,
Okay.
all the stuff I had to learn, and it goes back to we was talking about the black belt and learning. That's when the teaching really started, and we did, and in the commercial setting in the Western culture, we think about the black belt because we movies, so on and so forth.
Exactly,
media.
That's what we're familiar with.
That's perfect, and kick all the behind. Black belt is when you really start learning. That's when, all the basic stuff you went through high school. That's when you go to college and you start a couple of years while you're in college. Some people don't even have to pick their major.
Right. So, right.
Yeah. And that's where you start to try to find yourself.
Really start learning.
And, I wanted to break it down where the easiest somebody can understand the similarities to it. As a black belt, I really was still confused, didn't know. And then I started seeing the true essence of the Shotokan, and I'm still learning. I learn to this day.
Right, you're still learning, right?
And I never stopped learning because in that aspect, that's what got me. Because I learned the Taekwondo, and I learned there's a lot of differences because there was a lot to learn. You got to learn the poon-save. But I knew what Shotokan taught me from my conception of Shotokan. That in introductory of it, I was introduced to it properly, and it had a standard.
Okay.
And a standard that, unlike I've seen in so many, I've been to many Shotokan schools.
Okay.
A lot of us say traditional and all this, and we get caught up in titles or organizations.
Oh, yeah.
The one organization, the FSKA, when I remember this, and I say this really quick. I'm just a little country guy. Came from Hickory, North Carolina, doing the martial arts. So in my travels and competition and so on, people who don't know you, they start putting words out because they may hear something about you or see something that you may have posted. And so they assume that because I was in the military, that I was in Japan and I got the martial arts. And one guy came up to me, yeah, man, I heard you studied. He said, I can tell you studied in Japan, man. Your students, And I'm looking at him, I'm like,
I know you writing my story for me. No.
Yeah. I said, so, yeah. I said, where'd you get that from? They saying, I said, no, I didn't study in Japan.
Right.
And I said, this is the thing for me in a lot of martial arts and a lot of different areas. Sometimes people, like when we come up in a little town, somebody go to New York, you got a new outfit, you're like, oh, you ain't gonna find this around here. This is from New York. You ain't gonna find this outfit.
Right,
here.
You ain't gonna find this in the store. Right.
You want to be different, you want to embellish it. You know what I'm saying? And I say that wouldn't go over this day and time because you got Amazon.
Nowadays, right.
You get anything.
Right.
So you can't get them outfits. That's for this technology, but that's how they kind of treat their learning. And I said,
that's
man, don't be ashamed of where you're from and where you got it, because that people don't understand the journey is just as important as the future.
That's right.
I said that, and I say you are the connection between the past, you're the present, and then my son out there is the future. And I say you cannot take one of those apart. So be proud of those people, and that's honorable. That's honorable to honor people. And so that's why I say those guys' name, because I wouldn't be here without those people. And these are ones I'm only paying it forward. So don't be ashamed because you think it needs to be. It's just like I tell everyone this. The humility, and I tell my son this, like, man, I say, son, you can have a suit on from Kmart's and somebody else can have a Versace suit on. And people that are so materialistic or so, I say, are so vague in their thinking. I say, someone come up to you and that person, they talking to you and they say, oh man, that's a nice suit you got on, my man. That looks good on you. Right. And I said, the person who's so consumed in materialistic things or so vague in their mindset they're like, yeah, that's nice, but you know, that came on. This right here is Versace.
Right.
It's Versace.
Right.
They want that attention.
They want the attention, but no depth. But no depth.
Exactly. And I said, we have to be. I said, this is where I thank God I've been pretty successful. I'm still learning the business. I'm humbled on humility on that part. But you know, humility sometimes could be misconstrued as you're not confident. No, I'm just grateful. I don't have humility when it comes to thanking God where I'm from. I think, you know, my mom wasn't perfect, my dad wasn't perfect, my gut bringing wasn't perfect.
That's right.
But I serve a perfect God that saw all this before me. So
that's right.
And that I use that to say that's what my foundation is, because I couldn't have did this, you couldn't do what you do, we wouldn't be talking. I'm grateful for that, and that's what really I'm honored, because in that word it said, "Let your yes be yes and your no be no."
That's right.
When they asked God, asked him, "Who are you?" He said, "Who you say I'm to be?" And he said, "Him that I am." So that's what I say.
Yes.
Yeah, that's who I am, and this is who I am. Those folks were the people who helped me. Those folks are the people that, even though they're gone, they're going to continue to live on.
That's right.
You know, it's that like that story, you know, that mustard seed. I left from Hickory.
Mustard seed faith. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Eric Reinhardt up there in Hickory, still in Hickory, and we talk regular. And I say this, so when I left going service, and I got a bow that he gave me that's older than my son, that my son competes with now, that he gave me. And I got it right here in the office now. My son competes with it now. That bow is over 40 years old, almost, at least 40. Wow. And he competes with it now. But he gave me some old VHS tapes of a karate instructor when I left Hickory. And when I was going service, told me to study that, keep it with it, we go over the forms and stuff. Now, that person was with the Japanese karate, Kenneth Funakoshi. He was actually the fourth cousin of the founder of Shotokan Karate, who died in 1957, April 26, 1957. That's known to founder Gichin Funakoshi. Now that's pedigree and lineage.
For sure. Yeah.
Now, who would have thought a low country guy like me, them tapes that I was looking at studying, I became the first school in North Carolina that was in that association that met and part of the FSKA to this day. And I said, you see how God, that wasn't me, that's God.
Divine intervention, intervention. And you said something, I mean, you're right. You said, it's interesting you use that same lingo. I said, I'm just a country girl from Hickory, North Carolina that wanted something. And I keep putting one foot in front of the other, but I know where my help come from. My husband talks about all the time, you know, gratitude and how, you know, where you are in your life, you only get more out of being grateful. You rise to each level out of being grateful for where you are. My husband stands by that, and he would always encourage me, even in times where I felt like, you know, I'm in pursuit of something. It may not come fast enough. And he would always say, you know, Kenyatta, God blesses those who are grateful. You know, so remember, like, where you are in your life, you've already accomplished some things. You know, yes, you're in pursuit of something else, but gratitude is key. That's going to allow you to keep leveling up. So I think I commend the fact that you continue to, you know, you're giving back and you're teaching what you were taught. And honestly, I hear a lot of humility in this conversation, you know, humbling yourself. Like you said, it's not about being, some people say, oh, you know, like you said, they might consider it to be that you're not as confident, or you're humble, you're grateful, you have gratitude for where you are in your life and what you've seen and what you've been exposed to. And you're saying, as you said, coming from humble beginnings, so you realize that this is a gift. You know, this is a blessing. This is divine intervention. This is everything. I couldn't have lined this up if I wanted to. No. You could have told me I'd be right here. You wouldn't have told me that I would have met these type of people. If I'd have said it, then it wouldn't have been right. You know, it may have not even come to pass, but no, that's divine intervention. That's having gratitude. That's being grateful for the things that you have. And I think that as long as we continue to, know whose we are, and and that's how we understand who we are. I think that that's going to continue to catapult us into stratospheres that we absolutely couldn't even see ourselves being in.
That is so true.
Yes, yes, great. I'm loving this conversation, and we're drawing near to a close.
Okay.
You know, your teaching style, you kind of talked about it, and your philosophy for teaching. You provided a lot of knowledge with respect to one of the things I do find sometimes with children. How do you find, or what do you find yourself? What are the methods that you use with children who can't get it quite right on the first try? A major thing that I've seen is breaking boards, and maybe they're not kicking high enough. How do you help keep them motivated and focused, when somebody else looks like they got it right the first try, but I'm still trying to get it? Another child is, they're frustrated. How do you kind of motivate them and keep them focused?
You know what? I adopted a philosophy that I took from service. I don't believe in recreating the wheel.
Okay.
When you got that works so well. And, and I teach, I've taken so many different classes, military. I'm done millions of dollars on training, especially at that level,
right,
to get to the rank level that I've achieved. And, sometimes we don't realize how much knowledge we have, how much experience we have. And, I say this because I talk to a lot of veterans, retired, who done got out, and they don't seem, sometimes for some reason, they don't seem to elevate after they get out, but during their career, they was at a certain level. But that goes back to, they got so caught up in the title of the person, and then they start lacking. A lot of times I've seen, from whatever situation may be, but I don't want to lose the focal point of the teaching. They feel so much in us as non-commissioned officers that's in the service, enlisted. And when you get to a certain level, they over and over, they drill it. I'm the one that, I like hands-on, man.
Yes.
And, I'm coming up, I some people can't retain it. I look at things, I say, man, they start crossing up.
Right.
So the service used the teaching method. One, they use it at a level of where you can understand crawl, walk, run phase.
Okay.
And then they use this, and I always, and as a drill sergeant, I had to learn to modulate. I could still say the things we had to say it verbatim when we were teaching. But they say, just like when I'm teaching, name, explain, have demonstrated, and then conduct a practical exercise, which is practice what you just did. So you're touching on all those sensories of learning. You naming what you're doing. You're explaining why you're doing it. Because some people need to know why it is. And then name, explain, and then you demonstrate it. So then that's the visual. You're touching the visual. And you're touching the visual, then y'all all practice. Now you're touching the hands-on. That's what we made the perfection. So when you do that, you hitting everybody in that crowd. It's with the bunch, everyone. Some people are visual. Some people more. Some people, well, you can explain it to me and I get it, because now I know I got a purpose of why I'm doing it that way.
Understood.
So, and when you do that, and you do that with a passion,
that's right.
Because and you believe in that training module. Because you're a product of that training module. So you believe in it thoroughly. So, and that's the thing where I tell teach. A lot of people think, I can't go in there and teach like you. You know what I'm saying? But I probably can go in there and teach, and I'm still going to be effective, but I got to be the best me.
That's right.
And that's then what comes across to the person that's receiving it is the sincerity. They're being sincere in what they're doing. And that's what I say, that you touch those and teach the kids who not, when they come in there, I hear that so many times where they say, my son, a child got ADHD, they said, quit making excuses for them. Speak life into that situation.
That's right.
Hey,
that's
my child,
good.
they diagnosed, but I know my child got this. That's why we here. We know. I said, yeah, you're right. They're amazing. That's what I said.
Right.
The conversation. You asked me how I was doing. Everywhere I go, I work during the day. I'll be here. When I talk to the kids, I tell them that's the word I leave them with. You're amazing.
You're
I
amazing.
said, there ain't nothing you can do about it. I'm gonna leave you with it. When you ask me how I'm doing, I'm saying I'm amazing, just like you.
That's right.
We'll serve an amazing God.
Yes, we do. And that is awesome. I mean, I believe strongly in affirmations. I've said it on other, with other conversations on my other podcasts, how it's important to, one, affirm ourselves, but of course, affirming others, our children and your students, and, and affirming our child. My husband and I, we affirm our child daily. At 3 years old, she was spouting off affirmations, and how important it is. And people don't understand how important to the repetition of constantly telling a child who they are, what they're capable of, believing in them. It's so important. So when people then see our daughter now, or may see somebody even that I mentored or what have you, and they say, well, oh my goodness, they walk with such confidence. And I came from humble beginnings myself. And the one thing about it is, if you affirm yourself daily and you just knock out and get rid of the noise in your head, the naysayers, the non-believers, that's fine. I know who I am. And if you continue to affirm yourself daily about who you are and who God intends for you to be, and it's one where all of these things start to manifest, then you feel more and more confident. So it may not be that you know everything about something right now, but as long as you put one foot in front of the other and keep learning and keep trying and don't give up. And even if you fall, like I say, and that saying, I don't know who made up the quote, but you may stumble and you might even fall, but you got to keep getting back up. And I love the motivation that you give them. I love the motivation you give your students. It's so important, so important. So last question, what do you find, I guess, and I've heard it really over and over, I kind of know where you're going to go with this. What do you find to be the most rewarding experience thus far in all of your years, even in teaching, with martial arts? What has been your most rewarding experience? And I know there's probably a lot, but just one off the top of your head, what would you say your most rewarding experience with with martial arts has been?
The rewarding experience, is said for me, is you kind of know, me seeing other people achieve goals that they didn't think they ever achieved.
Yes.
And the entertaining part of it is, I know God got a sense of humor. I say, you picked me to do this. You picked me to do this. And
why not you?
Yeah, and that's what, and what my pastor said, that why not you? And that's even positive or negative. Some people say, why I got to go through this? And I heard a pastor now that always say to me, he said, why not you?
That's right.
Yeah. And and it goes back to this. Every day I'm trying to be better than the day before, and some days slip, and I understand that makes me human. But you talked about it earlier, and I always tell this, and I always believe this, even when I was young. I said, don't let somebody's opinion of you become your reality. That's right. Yeah. Oh. And I said, so what I mean by that is, I said, man, you gotta, that's what's martial arts. Just like when a situation arrives, like I tell them, we can go in here and we can train all the time, and it's the one thing you can do with parents and so on and so forth, right? Mm-hmm. I said, did you ever be put in a situation that you really have to use in a life protection type scenario? That's right. I said, know that you've been preparing that, because when fear is going to always kick in, a certain level of fear, certain level of anxiety, right, when something happens. I don't care how many years you've been doing this, you're going to get that. That's, and I tell any certain person, it's human. It's human nature. I said, but just like training that we have gotten in service, your training kicks in. That's your generator. It overrides your training, what you've been, your training of you speaking those affirmations into your life. Absolutely. you're gonna go, this too shall pass. You're gonna come out on the other side of this bigger, stronger, and brighter than you did when you was going through it. You coming out on the
Absolutely.
And that's what I get to achieve, because I know and we know. So to get somebody else, when that aha moment kicks in, say, oh, I can do this. Like you said, I hit this board. I had a young kid, he got down to that's part of him getting his test. And he had to go to that level of breaking the boards. And he cried. He said, how can we do this, get past? He literally cried. And I said, you got it. I said, but you got to trust me. But you got to believe. And I said, and you're talking about the board, I use that. That's how life is.
That's right.
Sometimes you can't go around it. You got to go through it.
Ooh.
And you cannot just see this right here in front of you. You can't just hit the surface.
That's
you
right.
You got to see yourself on the other side of this, but you can't go around it. I said, so when you punch, and I tell them, when you punch through it, not punch to it. I said, because once you punch to it, it's going to, but when you punch through it, you're not going to even feel the pain, because your energy has kept going. You're not let that energy stop. So when you're bigger than this board, and it's ironic that you say that, because that's what I like to see. I like to see them go through those obstacles in life when they didn't think they could, and they thought they wanted to give up, and they wanted to avoid it and try to go around it, or not go through the process of the teaching, the discipline of what you've been working to this point. Now you got to trust all of this training that you did.
That's right.
Because otherwise you're gonna think it's false.
That's right.
And that's us as believers. If we didn't have no battles in our life, we wouldn't believe that God is real.
That's right. So, honey, there's through every there's tests and trials through every realm of success that you get to. People think they just because they think, okay, they might say, oh, she's got this or he's done this or what have you. They don't know what you done been through to get where you are right now. Best believe I'll raise my hand. I've gone through some quote unquote failures, which I say is success. My husband always says that failure, success turned inside out. And at the end of the day, if you can't fail properly, because everybody that's done business, taking exams, what have you, listen, you gonna get tested. And that's a part of your road to success. So if y'all listeners don't understand anything, you gonna fall several times before you get to wherever it is you're trying to go.
I'm very and I tell people, I say, I remember the day when I bought $20 and $20 was like $200 just to get me through that week. And
now you get ready to preach. You get ready. I'm ready to preach, and we get ready in this because we get ready to shout on here. I'm telling you.
And I said, I'm telling you, so I said, I don't pass judgment on nobody, but I'm grateful for everything I have, what I got. And I said, it's not about the materialistic things. It's about the soul. And I said, those things are good as long as you put them in their place.
That's
and
right.
I said, I'm happy and I like people and I like to see them win. And
that's right. Same here.
Win, and I want you to continue to win. I envy no one. I'm grateful for all I have, and I'm grateful for God making me, because there's only one me. There's people born twins, so on and so forth. And
that's right.
I want to be nobody else.
That's right.
I use them as goals if they can achieve it. When I look at another person and they're doing something that I say, man, I would like to do, I can do it.
Absolutely.
I said, because I sum that up to say, if I can say anything, that support, like I was saying, whether we got family members or friends, that's right. You got the same thing God gave me. Amen. You can do. I love seeing and being a part of the confirmation and affirmation to help people to go through it and say, you can go through this and you're going to do good at it. And you're going to do better. And that's right. I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better than me.
Be better than me. Yes, be better than me. I love it. I love it. I really do. You know, Ronnie, this has been great. This has been wonderful. You have provided a whole wealth of knowledge. I mean, I have enjoyed this conversation. And to our listeners, I hope you guys have really enjoyed this. This was really a treat. You know, a 26-year veteran in the U.S. Army, been doing all martial arts, different forms, all of these years, teaching, paying it forward, continuing to develop young minds. I mean, amazing. And I am just so grateful that people like you are in this world. Your humility is outstanding. It is amazing. And that's why you're going to keep elevating. And we're just so grateful to have people like you that continue to teach our youth and teach them in the right way and giving them the confirmation and affirming their lives daily and developing them is going to make for a better world. And we're so grateful for your work and your service. So I really appreciate you being here today, and thank you for taking the time.
Well, thank you. The feeling is mutual because I know you have sacrificed a lot, and I'm just wishing you continued success. I'm enjoying it. I'm telling you, even before the opportunity permitted itself, and I look forward to just watching your podcast because I'm really blessed. So, even your testimony and your travel, and I just say, I encourage you because your success and my success are contingent upon us to continue to fellowship together and promote positive energy, especially within our community.
That's
and
right.
I believe that, and that's even around here. And I say that, with doubt. A lot of times people are afraid to say it, but in our Black community, we have to be unified. And I tell my students that it's the realization of it.
Yes.
Deal with in our community. We come from a community that, man, if we'd have known so much more, I think, such as, the untouchables, those stories coming up anymore. We have here recently the Robert Dillingham, but these people
we're so excited for him. Yes.
Him, Chris Washburn, Al Young, so many
all of them.
That came and went into the next level.
That's right.
Area, and that was way before, and our fathers and uncles and family members from in the Ridgeview community, man. It's the Mitchell family, the patriarchs and matriarchs of the community.
Absolutely.
And if I say anything, this is what I am so appreciative of you, because we're in a world now that we have so many different avenues to promote, and we can't be subdued no more on the great has been. And then with falling under greatness, that means it's a big responsibility, and you have a lot of weight on your shoulders, but you because when you come from greatness, and we need to be reminded of that. And I'm so happy and blessed to be here and watch you grow even expediently more. And I know you will continue to grow, but thank you. And I'm honored just so
thank you. Thank you. I'm humbled, and thank you for your words. I'm just so grateful and humbled by people like you sharing your story through my platform. And I'm just grateful. And so I really appreciate your kind words, and I appreciate your time today. And for the listeners, I know you've had a treat today. Sensei Ronnie Williams has dropped a whole lot of information. I hope you take the time to go back to the very beginning and think about some of the things that he shared. He shared a lot of information, a lot of life skills, not just the technical skills of martial arts, but the life skills. So thank you to our listeners for just spending the time with us today. You could have been anywhere else. I am so grateful. But just remember, I am not telling you what to think. I'm only asking you to think. And so until next time, goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.